Have you ever had an interface where users miss an important change that was completely obvious to you? Well, your users might have fallen victim to the phenomenon of change blindness. In this video, I'm going to talk about why change blindness happens, when it happens, and how you can make sure it doesn't happen in your UI. I'm Josh Wayne with Design Smarts, and it's the first episode of Psychology Sundays. So what is change blindness? In simple terms, change blindness is a phenomenon where large changes to a visual scene can go completely unnoticed to an observer. And the best way to explain is just to do an experiment. Now, I'm going to show you a photo, and it's going to blink, and then something in the photo is going to change. It's going to blink, and it's going to change back. It's going to go back and forth like that for a minute. So see if you can spot the difference. Ready? So, did you notice the change? It was the guy's shirt in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to show it to you again. Check it out. Now, don't feel bad if you didn't get it, because in similar studies of change blindness, roughly 1/3 of participants didn't notice the change either. Studies like the one you just did were first done in 1995. It wasn't until 1997 when Ronald A. Reesink at the University of British Columbia conducted his own studies and first coined the term change blindness. And that's when it really became its own field of research. And change blindness isn't limited to a blink between two similar photos. Since then, there have been many studies on change blindness to better understand just how far the phenomenon can go. In some studies, they've tested different scenes, and they found change blindness can happen while looking at photos, abstract shapes, and graphical user interfaces. In other studies, they tested what can cause change blindness. They found change blindness can happen when there is a blink, movement, splatters, or just by drawing attention somewhere else. And this is where it gets really crazy. In 1998, researchers wanted to see just how far they could push change blindness by doing a study where participants are just walking down the street and they're approached by a stranger asking for directions. In the middle of the conversation, two men carrying a door walk between the experimenter and the participant. While the experimenter was hidden, a switch was made, and participants continued giving directions to a completely different stranger. And roughly 1/2 of participants never noticed the switch. Now, I wouldn't have believed it if you had told me this, but check out this clip where the National Geographic replicated the study with two guys ducking behind a bar. Check it out.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I just need you to fill out this release form, please. Let me grab you a pen.
Okay, here we go. Go ahead and just sign and date it. So where are you from?
New Jersey. How you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Real good, real good. I just need you to fill out this release form. Let me grab you a pen, okay?
Okay, here we go.
Let me just grab you a pen for this.
Okay. Making me sign a waiver for this, huh?
All right, here we go. Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy to think that people wouldn't notice a completely different person they were just talking to, right? If I didn't see that video, I wouldn't have believed it.
I don't think anyone's going to fall for this.
What?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
All right.
Thanks, though. All right, so that might have been a little too obvious. But what you might not have noticed is throughout the video, my coffee mug has switched several times. Don't believe me? Go back through the video and check it out. Since the first studies done in 1995, many follow-up studies have been done on change blindness. More recently, there's been a growing number of studies on specific scenarios where change blindness can happen. And this is where we really get into UX design. In 2004, researchers at the University of San Diego, in partnership with the local naval base, studied the effects of change blindness in real-world scenarios. They tested 28 people with 2 or more years of experience working on combat information interfaces commonly used in the military. Basically, a UI used to track the movements of planes and ships in a combat scenario and where it's critical to notice and respond to changes. It's basically their entire job. So, in the study, they sat down each participant and explained what change blindness is and that their job was to figure out what changed in the UI. They were given time to look at an interface on one monitor, and then an alert popped up on a second monitor telling them something in the interface has changed. They had to close that alert, look back at the other interface, and figure out what changes happened. And even with everything working in their favor, being familiar with the type of interface, knowing they were looking for a change, and knowing the interruption was coming, still 28% of participants never noticed the change after 2 or more guesses. And we're not just limited to a lab with these kind of results. A similar situation happened with a UX team working on Skype. In a talk given at the GoTo conference, designer Chris Atherton talked about a particular design where users completely missed a change they themselves initiated. So at the time, the Skype design team wanted to give users the ability to add tags to contacts, so you can tag people with things like coworker, friend, design team, things like that. So on the contact profile screen, they added a feature to add tags. Users would click on it and a modal would pop up. They would add the tags they wanted and click done. And where did the tags go? In their usability testing, they found users couldn't find the tags they just added to the interface, even when they literally just clicked in the area where the tags were added. And before you start thinking, none of this stuff would happen to me, I can't believe people are falling for this. Well, in 2000, a study was done about change blindness, basically showing that people are a lot more confident about their ability to notice change versus how they actually performed. Quote, across all 4 scenarios, an average of 11% of subjects actually detected the changes in our previous experiments, whereas an average of 83% of subjects in the present survey predicted they would detect the changes. But another way, 83% of subjects said they would notice the change, and only 11% actually did. So, chances are you've fallen for change blindness in your life before, you just never noticed. So how can we reduce the chances our users fall victim to change blindness? Option 1, stay put. One way is to do things in the same area. In the Skype example, a possible solution could have been redesigning the UI so that tags are added in the same area rather than pulling away attention to a modal. Option 2, use animation. Another option is to use animation to call attention to the change. Again, using the Skype example, a possible solution could have been to animate the new tags getting added to the interface after the modal was closed. Option 3, draw attention. In a situation where I personally experienced change blindness, I was shopping online one day and decided to buy something. I clicked the add to cart button and it looked like nothing happened. I stayed on the same page, there was no modal, no message, nothing. So I did what most users do and I clicked it again. Same thing. So I clicked a few more times, nothing. After a while, I noticed there was a little number on the cart that said 6. Turns out things were getting added to the cart, I just didn't notice the small number changing in the top right-hand corner because my attention was drawn elsewhere. So how can we fix that? One way is by adding some attention drawing feedback. The most common way is to add a modal, but if we want to be more subtle, we can add a more subtle tooltip that calls attention to the cart without blocking the rest of the page. And that's all I have on change blindness. Hopefully armed with this knowledge, you can spot places in your designs where your users can miss important changes and you can take steps to make sure that doesn't happen. Do you have an interface that fell victim to change blindness? I'd love to know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, I appreciate if you could do me a huge favor by liking this video and subscribing to the channel because that lets me know the kind of videos people want to see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.